Good afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this video. I recorded this video during our wonderful ICE day where hopefully you all got a chance to catch up on sleep, laundry, grad school, whatever you wanted to do. I know Myra and I enjoyed it because we were the only two here and we got caught up on our favorite thing, which is Title One. So, with that being said, I want to try something new here at Logan, and we're talking about flipping. You've heard about the flipped classroom. The classroom is this trend in education where the teacher creates a video ahead of time and the children can access it through any device, their handheld, their tablets, computer at home. And what it does is it essentially previews content material for the children so that when they come to class the next day, they have an understanding or at least have been introduced to the content that's going to be done in the classroom that day. In theory, if they understand the content ahead of time, it goes straight to application, which maximizes time. Obviously, there are challenges to that for students because what is the access to computers, what is the access at home, and how many of them will really truthfully access the material outside of the classroom. That also is a challenge with teachers, and we are going to try to flip a faculty meeting here, but you're going to have to be patient with me because obviously I'm not as comfortable on the camera because knowing you're all going to be able to laugh at this and look at it certainly adds a layer of anxiety. But I know that in the long run, this could be an approach that will fundamentally change how we do faculty meetings and hopefully make it more meaningful for everyone. With the first major change being that faculty meetings will not start with the pre-ramble, as we know that I do. We will not have the announcements at the beginning of the faculty meetings. Any major announcements or anything that needs to be shared with the staff will be done through our daily communication. It'll also really kind of streamline things because once you've watched the video ahead of time, you come to the faculty meeting and everything's ready to go. We're good to go. If there's questions about what was shared in the video, then that can certainly be addressed right away. But the hope is that we're going to maximize faculty meeting times and engage in a much deeper professional development opportunity. So with that being said, today we're going to try this approach. Joe, MJ, and I are going to present how we think that the integration of the standards of mathematical practice need to be integrated in your classroom. We will refer to them from time to time as SMPs because it's a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. I know the first thing that's being said as you're watching this video. We've already done the SMPs before. We've dealt with this. You're right. We're aware of the standards of mathematical practice, but the concern is we're not seeing it in play in the classroom as much as it needs to be. So we're really looking to move from that awareness to that action step. And that's something we've talked about multiple times. So what I really want to do is we're going to move toward action and away from awareness. So the next thing you're going to see on this video is a really brief presentation about the standards of mathematical practice. And then we'll move to where we head in the faculty meeting. So I'm going to see you in a second. Okay, I'm back. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the PowerPoint presentation about the standards of mathematical practice. And obviously it's a flipped approach, so you're getting this information ahead of time. I want you to read this slide briefly to yourself. I think the most important thing you need to take out of this slide is that it is an emphasis on process and proficiencies, and that it's really truthfully that we are teaching children how to arrive at mathematical answers. It's not about is the answer correct. It's the process of getting there and are they using the multiple strategies and the multiple skill sets that they need to be successful. And as we know, there's prerequisite skills in mathematics, but we need to make sure that our children are applying those along the continuum to help them meet success. Here's how they lay out. And as you notice, 1 and 6 are always in play. Every day in math, they are going to do these because these are the overarching standards. But when you look at the others, then you can start to look at where they fall. And I think that really comes into an important piece that our scholars need to understand where they are using these standards of mathematical practice. We are going to point it out for them, but at some point it has to be internalized where we've made suggestions about having the checklists on their desk with dry erase markers or having them verbally share what they're doing. You already have the posters in your room, so they should be referring to those. But I can tell you that during observation cycles, both formal and informal, Julia and I are seeing very little reference to the SMPs during instruction. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just that we need to refine practice now. Because really, truthfully, as we start to head towards these P21 thinkers, they really need to understand what tools they're using, if they're doing things appropriately. Um, are they really making a viable argument in all the other standards? So that's really where we need to head. Here's something that I think we really do need to review. When you're dealing with SMPs, it does not mean that it's just on Problem Solving Friday. It is not just enrichment for advanced students. Everyone needs access to those. And I said this earlier, but it's about the process. It's not always about the answer. And I think that, again, it's that you are building on expertise, you're moving them forward, they are developing a deeper conceptual understanding through process. So I think that is something, again, we have to be very aware of as educators. I shared this problem because even though this is a middle school problem, I think it's pretty appropriate. And Diane Briers is a well-respected mathematician who sits on the board of NCTM and often presents. And basically what she said was, this is a problem that you would expect from students who are addressing, or a teacher who's addressing the standards of mathematical practice. So if you take a look at it, it is pretty complex and it's multi-step. And I think that's the other thing. During EOL meetings, and I believe it was fourth grade shared, well, our children are able to do the problems, but sometimes they're missing steps. They start to solve parts of the problem, but they don't realize that the problem is so many more than just one or two steps. And I think that's something we really do need to continue to work on with our children. Questions that we've been using, and especially in Baltimore County, and I know the math unit tests have changed dramatically, and that props to the math office for understanding the need for change. But we always said which fraction was closer to 1. As you start looking at the SMPs, it would say not only which fraction is closer to 1, but show it on a number line. Those of you who are intermediate math teachers, you have seen these problems popping up on the unit tests, but what does this mean for primary teachers? What it means is that our children have to understand where sets of numbers lie, where they sit on number lines in relations to other numbers. Those are the kinds of things, and that's why really I think we have to focus on a little bit more vertical teaming here at Logan, where you understand not only your own standards, but the standards that are above your grade level and below your grade level, so you know where they're coming from and where they're heading. At that point, that ends the PowerPoint that we were discussing. So the next step here for the Flip faculty meeting is that you have watched this video. We're going to meet on Monday, which is the 10th, I believe, and then we're going to discuss how we apply these standards. Now, I do know that we have a video to share with you because we really want to start looking at how we can find those in the classroom. So at this point, this is going to end the flipped part of the video. I hope this is something that you found useful, and I obviously am going to be soliciting your responses. So suggestions, besides the fact that I should have dressed better or I kept not looking at the camera, certainly will be appreciated. I hope you had a great snow and ice day, and I will see you soon.